We are so grateful that we get to come before you. But more importantly, our Father, so hasn't leaving us, hasn't so much for us to know. So much you want to share. There's so much you want us to be able to experience the goodness of God, the amazingness of God, the fruitfulness that comes from life in abundance, all for your children. So God, I thank you that we get to come before you and you don't hold back. You give us the breath of life that is right here in this place. Your breath of life has been breathing upon us in this service, in this time of worship. And we are thanking you for the restoration that was talked about in our Bible engagement classes. The restoration. The things that look old, that people would toss on the side, that we thought that it was insignificant. The breath of life that breathes restoration over us. Oh, things new. He makes you new. He makes you new. He just wants you to know, restore. You're restored. The scars. He can take them off. He makes you new. He gives a new heart. He gives you a restored, cleansed, empowered mind. He gives you strength to the weary. He is with you always, so you are never forsaken. Things new. There's beauty ahead. The future is bright. If you stay with him, you walk with him, you just choose him. And make all things new and beautiful. God, God is wonderful. God, we thank you. We hand you our past. We hand you our future. We hand you the mess that we've made and other people have made in our life. And go ahead, God, take the pile of ashes, take the broken pieces. Go ahead and do what you do, creator of the universe, that can take a pile of dust, breathe upon it, and make it new, and make it whole. We thank you, Lord, you have our life. May we just enjoy the relationship that you desire to have with us. May it grow stronger. May never, not one of us, ever neglect this opportunity to know you while we still have the breath of life. That we would grow and that we wouldn't just come to church and just do our church thing and just do the ritual, the routine. But that we come to know you. Really know you. And we go deeper because there's so much more than what we have experienced. So pour out your spirit, pour out your anointing, and may your light beam just begin to explode in this place. The light that crushes any places of it and any works of it. May it so shine. So have your way in this service. I ask that your anointing come upon our team, our missions team, as they come and share. You speak through them. May they yield to your voice, to your will. You empower them to be the vessels, your spokespersons around the world. Blessings upon this service in the mighty name of Jesus. We say, amen. Wow, 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 God. It's not something to just look over. God's presence comes such a gift to have the creator of the universe. Creator of the universe. Come. Could you imagine the president taking the time to come every single Sunday to hang out with us? I don't want to even say that you might not get excited about the president, but just think of somebody that you do look up to. Someone that you do, like someone in the we have recharged. I'm like, power up. And I'm grateful for that. But we are also grateful for our beautiful mission team, from Nelson University. We are so grateful that they've been coming and working alongside of us, coming to the shelters with me, and just they've been all over the place. So they're going to continue to be all over the place tonight. Pray for us. We're all going to spend the night at the harbor. We're going to go spend the night at the homeless encampment, and we're going to be ministering there tomorrow. Um, so that's going to be fun. We're going to get to experience what it's like to take a shower and get it instantly dirty again. That's what we're going to get to experience. But pray for us because we want to have opportunities to be able to minister. And honestly, what we find every time we go, not only do we get to minister, but you get to minister too. And there's a lot of growth that happens so we are going to just hand this over to the Nelson University team. You guys will get to introduce yourselves. And yes, I told them, I said, share whatever God puts in their hearts. And we're going to cheer them on. I don't know all their backgrounds if they've had opportunities to speak before in front of people, but even if it's your first time, we love you. All right, come on.
Terry, he ended up getting blown off a truck, and my mom started going back to school. Oh, hello. My mom started going back to school and working, and my dad stayed home as a retired veteran. And so my dad raised me. So I was really close with my dad. Me and my dad are like this. And my sister, my sister has spina bifida. So they did surgery, and she became on a wheelchair, no longer to walk. But she has been blessed with 2 kids and a husband, and they're doing amazing on All-Stars and all kinds of good stuff. So God is still good. But it was hard for us when we were little. Like I said, I'm a daddy's girl. My brother and my sister are both mommy's babies. And my mom has a tendency to be a little codependent. So she likes everybody to love her more. But it was just me and my dad. Truth of the matter is, they loved me the best that they could love me. Mostly it was through gifts. I was like, I want this, okay. I want this, okay. And that's how they showed me love. I never really had that emotional connection love. My dad had a raging disorder, so there was always things flying across the house. And my mom, she's just my mom. No, just kidding. She's a good woman. She's strong. She just tends to put everything on her shoulders and doesn't allow anybody in to help her. So she's very like, leave me alone, I'm lonely type of person. So it's kind of hard. You have to really like navigate through that situation. And so growing up, my siblings hated me. They hated me because I was dad's favorite. I got whatever I wanted. I was the baby. I was a spoiled brat. My sister hated me from the get-go because I could walk and she couldn't. So she was very mean to me. She was very ugly to me. My sister is 13 years older than me. My brother is 7. So I was the baby. And so they never wanted me around. They never cared for me. They just like, meh. My brother once threw me against the wall and almost broke my arm, but I had fractured ribs. So we were really bad. We like, our fights are like, oh, you fight like brothers and sisters. I'm like, that's how y'all fight? Bro, what? Okay, like, we just did not like each other. Like, it was bad to the point to where, like, I'm young, I'm like 5 years old, and I let my sister go down this hill. Like, I just let her go. And I was just like, whatever, because she was being mean to me. And my parents would always call me the trouble child. But what they didn't know is I was getting molested by a family friend from the ages, since I can remember, all the way to 7, and by a sibling. And I felt like there was something wrong with me. Like, why does nobody love me? Why does everybody keep hurting me? Why does everybody, like, had so much problems. Like, I would run away. I would jump in people's back of the car. Like, I was just crazy. Like, now I think about it, I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I would run away in Walmart. Like, they couldn't find me. Like, and I was just out there, and they're like, you give us so much trouble. And I'm like, I don't know. But I've always hold that in on the inside. They didn't know anything that was going on. And then I would go to school, and I would always feel like I would be used. Like, I would give away everything. Right? People pleasing. I was a people pleaser because I wanted to fit in, and I wanted to have all the friends because I didn't feel that at home. And so, but that didn't work out either. That door got shut. And so everywhere I went, I felt like I didn't belong, that I didn't want to be there. So with all of that in my childhood raising up, I want to say, like, be careful when you have kids, or if you already have kids, to really pray over them. To really, like, because the enemy comes to try to kill and destroy them at a young age, when their mind's not fully developed, when they don't know or understand. That's when he comes the most, to really just be like, like, this is like telling them lies, pretty much. And so I believed all those lies. I felt like I was worthless, and I was like, okay. So then we moved here, or not here, Texas. I'm used to speaking in Texas. We moved to Texas, and everything changed. It was like, okay, cool. Like, I felt like the molesting stopped. Everything changed. And I was like, okay, thank you, Jesus. But still, that was a secret. I told my mom when I was 14 years old. She was like, why do you like the way you are? And I was like, Mama, let me tell you something. She was like, she did not believe me. She was like, I'm like, why do you not believe me? She's like, because everything that comes out of your mouth is a lie. And I'm like, that's not a lie, though. And so that was hard to hear. It made me feel like she didn't listen to me. It made me feel like, okay, so that doesn't matter. And still, they allowed that person to come and visit. So every time I would, it was only my mom that knew. Every time that I would be home and they would come to visit, I'd be like, deuces, I'm out. I'd leave. And I forgive him now. And so it was just rough, and I forgive my sibling as well. And it was rough. It was very, it made me feel like, okay, my feelings don't matter. Like, here we are again in my own house. So then I was never home. I was gone for weeks at a time at friend's house. And when I started drinking at a very young age. Like, my mom used to like, here, you want a sip? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I was like 7, 8 years old, like, just drinking. And she would just give me sips, and then I would go run into the liquor. And I smoked my first cigarette when I was 8, and then I didn't like it. I was like, ew, that's gross. And then I started doing it again when I was 12. And I was a smoker for 10 years. And then I also drank a little bit here and there, but that wasn't my favorite. Then when I was 13, I started smoking weed. And I liked that for a while. It lasted, and then it was bars, and then it was meth when I was 15. And so once meth came into the picture, everything else went out the window. I didn't want nothing else. That's all I wanted. That came in the picture because when I was 15 years old, and my parents said, we consented because you were going to do what you wanted to do anyway, and we'd rather you have us tell us the truth so we know where you are than for you to go behind our backs and do it. So I was dating a man that was 10 years older than me, and I thought this guy was my Prince Charming. I thought, oh, wow, I've been neglected all this time, and now I have someone who really loves me for me, and no, it was not like that at all. So 7 years of being in this relationship, I was abused, hurt mentally, physically. He was a narcissist. In the beginning, I felt like, oh my gosh, like I gave him all of me, and all of a sudden he used that against me. Everything that I gave him, he used it against me. And so halfway through, I became him. I became this evil person, this person who was once bubbly, happy, and joyful and free, and to like, okay, fine. It was an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. And we started going back and forth at each other. During this time, I went to rehab when I was 18 years old because I came and confessed to my mom and my dad. I was like, Mom, I'm doing meth. And because they saw their daughter once being healthy to coming home and being 100 pounds less. They're like, in 5 months, they're like, what happened to you? And I'm like, I'm addicted to drugs. And so my dad and my mom were crying, and they sent me to rehab. I was in a secular rehab for a year. I got out, relapsed within a week because my ex came and picked me up. And I tried to save him, but yeah. And then I was out there for 9 months, and during this time, I tried to be that functioning addict. I was working, I was doing all that I can, and then one wrong turn, and about a hotel, and I ended up meeting some people to where I was bringing immigrants across the checkpoints from Eagle Pass into Texas for money. And the Lord has really had his hand over me because there's multiple times where I've been stopped, where I've been detained with drugs on me, and they've let me go. And this happened multiple times until the last time. After all this happened, something bad really happened to me when I was with that crowd of bringing immigrants across checkpoint, and to where I had to really like evacuate the situation quickly. And then I came home, and my mom had these pictures set out on the table. She goes, Keita, what happened to my baby girl? What happened to the life like that you were happy and joyful for? I said, Mom, that was all like a lie. Like I was never happy. I never knew who I was. Like she's like, Keita, you're worthy. Like, you know, and I'm like, that's what you say. You're supposed to say that. You're my mom, you know? Like, and I was like, but I don't feel that. And so I went to rehab again because my mom ended up cheating on my dad. When I was 16 years old, and I found out, and I kept that and I hold that, and oh my gosh, I disrespected my mom so bad because of that, because I'm like, you did that to my dad, and that's my dad, you know what I'm saying? And so like, I was really mean to her. I was ugly to her. I would blackmail her. I would just like use her. It was bad. And then one day she walked into my room, and I was asleep, and I was like, oh crap, I can't find my stuff. And I was like, well, maybe if I can't find it, she can't see it. And so like she walks in, and that's the first thing she sees, and she's like, oh, you drug addict, like breaks it. And I'm like, oh no, okay, I'm getting out. So me, I would like not do confrontation. I was like, I'm out. I'm giving my keys, I'm leaving. And she's like, you're not going anywhere, you're high. And I was like, I'm not high. Like I was asleep. And my dad comes in, and my mom, okay, so I like pushed her out the way. I was like, move. My dad like grabs me, and my mom scratches my face. My dad slams me on the bed, and I look at him. This is when I was 21 years old. I was like, Mom cheated on you. Just like right there he was like, what? I was like, yeah. And my mom blamed me for everything. She blamed me for everything. It's your fault. Everything's your fault. You're the drug addict. You're the one that ruined his family. And so I was just kind of tired of it. I was like, I just want to die. So, you know, here's the truth. And so that day, my mom was like, I'm either going to call the cops or you're going back to SOBA, which is what it's called. And I was like, all right, just take me back to SOBA. I'll go to rehab. And so I went to rehab again, and I actually stayed sober for 14 months. So I did the year, and then I stayed sober for 2 months. And then I thought, oh, maybe I could just have a drink. Maybe I could just, smoke a little bit of CBD. And then it just gradually just went right back into the hole. And I was like, okay, well, here we are again. And so I went back to races, and then I went and found my ex, and woo, there we go again. And that didn't last very long because I did get arrested finally. God was like, okay, I'm tired. He's like, it's time for you to really see your reality, to see where you're gonna go. Like, you're either gonna go to jail, you're gonna die. And there was multiple times where I tried suicide. I wanted to die. I didn't feel worthy. I knew that there was more for me out there, but I felt so worthless. It was too far to reach. And so I was like, okay. And then when I went to jail, oh my gosh, I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I don't want my life to be like this. And so I called my mom. My dad's like, leave her in there. I was like, no, don't leave me in here. And because my dad was tired of it. He was done. He was ready to write me off. Like, I'm done with you. And I looked up to my dad the most, but my mom never gave up on me, which is kind of cool after all the things I've done to her. And so, long story short, I went to a Daunting Challenge, this wonderful program. And I met some awesome people, and it was one of the hardest programs I've ever walked through in my life. You don't get a phone like it did the secular rehab. You don't get, games, and it's not co-ed, and it's it was just nope. And I was like, okay. So I had to stop distracting myself with everything and anything and look at myself and go, okay, what's going on? And oh my gosh, I tried to play it cool for the first 2 days. And everything broke. And I was like, okay. And once that first initial breaking happened, then it was every day. It was every day I was up at the altar praying. I was screaming, crying. It was just this freeing. No one had to come up to me and be like, you're delivered in Jesus' name. No, I met Jesus at the altar. And every day for 3 months, the more I cried, it was every day. Because I went from being able to do everything to being able to be very confined. And I did not like to feel that way, but God needed me in a space like that, so where he could be like, look at yourself, let's start working on you. And so I was like, okay. So I let him in and I let him have it all. And slowly that mourning turned to gladness and joy. And then that's when God came in and said, okay, I want you to do the associates program. I said, okay, we'll do this. And I was excited because I was like, I get to learn more about him and, if it's his will and whatever. And I was ready to do that. And then I did the 6-month internship. And so I got my 365 and then my 6-month internship and then graduated the program. And then I started working at the teen program where I worked with girls. My heart is kind of for the teen girls because it's that's where I kind of went, fell down, because you don't know, it's just rough. It's rough. You don't know until you know. So I was just okay, let me work with the teen girls. And they were awesome. I was there for 6 months and then God called me to school. And I was like, God, are you sure I need to go back to school? And I had these pair of track shorts that I got in my addiction. I don't know where. But I put on these track shorts and I was I don't know if I should fill out this application for school. So I put the computer down and put on my track shorts and the Holy Spirit was look down. And they were track shorts from Sagoo. I was like, okay. I don't know how I got those, but so I filled it out and I got to walk in free, just boom. And it was amazing. I love the experience that I had there, the friends that I got to meet there. My fall off point, I'd say I fell off, was I wanted to do everything. So I got blessed. God delivered me. He freed me. He restored me. He justified me. He redeemed, right? He okay, you are now cleansed and washed by the blood of the Spirit. Now go ahead and do what I've called you to do. I'm like, okay, cool. But when I stepped out to do that, I slowly began to put more on my plate and less of God. I started to put, okay, I got to school, I'm here. All right, yay, I got a new opportunity, I get to go to school, I get to actually feel like I'm doing something right. And let me be a co-leader for SMA. Cool. my first semester. And my RA was like, you want to be an RA next semester? I'm like, yes. So then next semester, I was an RA. And I was like, okay, so I became an RA and I was working. So I became an RA. I was working. I volunteered. And I also started over the summer, for summer break, I started real estate classes. And so while I'm doing all of this, I'm going to school, 5 classes, real estate classes, RA. I'm trying to figure out all this. God went into the back window. I was like, sorry, like, let me finish this first. But you need to talk to me. But I need to do this homework. Sorry. Like, it was kind of like this, like, okay, well, you know, my grades are going to get low if I don't turn this paper in. Like, I know you're there, but like, I'm sorry, you know, type of thing. And it was just like, I idolized everything that he gave to me, and he went back. And so after this whole year of doing that, again, working, and I just had a lot on my plate. And then when I got accepted, they were like, oh, we're having a missions trip. And the director came to me and she's like, you should lead a mission trip. And I was like, I've never been on a mission trip before. I've never been on an airplane before. So I don't know what you're talking about. And she was like, no, it's going to be great, Keita. And I was like, okay. And so like we had these interviews and I got selected to come here. And we don't get to pick our trips. And I was like, okay, cool. That's cool. And then I read like what it was about, and I was like, wow, the homeless. And then later on, she tells me, oh, you're going to help at ATC. And I was like, wow, God, you knew before I even knew. And so I was like, okay, Lord. And I was like, this is going to be great. And I got to meet my team members. I got to like, you know, bring them on. And slowly but surely, like God was like, okay. And I still, though, he still pursued me, and I still put him on the side. Even though after everything he's delivered me from, after everything he's done for me, after everything he's blessed me with, I put him on the side. But he still is gentle and gracious and pursues and loves and is patient. So I come here, and God has to take me across the whole Pacific continent. And he's like, you need to go back to Adult Tea Challenge. What? No, you need to go back to Adult Tea Challenge, back to where you started. And I was like, okay. Okay. And it's crazy because the Adult Tea Challenge is actually 20 minutes away from my house, from my parents' house. And my mom's actually really sick right now. Me and my mom and my whole family's relationship is restored. We're closer than we've ever been. My felony charge that I got arrested for got dropped while I was in Adult Teen Challenge. So I'm like, he's like really gave my life back. And I was like, you want me to go back there? That's hard. And he was like, yeah, I want you to go back. And I was like, okay. So I talked to my advisor. It was like the second day I was here. I think we listened to the message Hope. And so I was telling my advisor about it. She's the education coordinator. And she was like, I hear God saying, Keita, come home. I was like, okay. And so it's kind of really exciting to be able to be by my family during this like tragic time, because my mom is sick. She has diabetes, and her body is like not taking the medicine very well. And so that kind of hurts me, because I'm like, you know, and just being there for her is like one of the things I want to do. But it's like great. Like I get to finish school online, and God's just really blessed me with this. He's literally delivered me, pulled me out of all that muck and mire, and he set me down, washed me, cleaned me, and he said, now go be a witness, go and testify of my goodness, go and share the message of the Bible, go to places you've never been, to places you've never seen, and testify to people, look them in the eyes and be like, God is here for you, God loves you, and if he did it for me, he can do it for you. And he's just been so good. One of my stand-ons is Psalms 23, and it's, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and their staff comfort me. You prepare a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This has always been the scripture for my life. I've seen this throughout my life in many different places. And so it's just been like, and God really brought that picture to me because of everything that I went through. It's like, wow, he does restore my soul. Nothing man-made ever worked in my life. Until the point where I was ready to give it all away. I was done. And someone came, let's go to a daunting challenge. They prayed me into a daunting challenge. I was like, okay. And I was like, this is it. This is the last road. I'm not going to do anything else. If this don't work, I don't know what will. But God, he works. He delivers. He sets free. Like, he moves. He moves. And the only thing is you got to surrender. You got to surrender and be like, I don't care what the world thinks anymore. The world, I've already tried everything in the world, and it does not satisfy. God satisfies. Jesus saves. You just have to really align your desires. Lord, take my heart. Align my desires with your desires. Free up the space in my heart that is taking that space from you. Like, you really got to talk to him. Yes, he knows everything, but be vulnerable. I have such a hard time being vulnerable with people. It's not even funny. But it's like very hard. Like, you got to really just be yourself with God, and he'll meet you where you're at, and he will lead you and guide you all the days of your life. So that's all I have to share. I'm going to ask Noah to come up.
Hey, guys. Oh, that was amazing. That was really good. Mine, I grew up in church. My parents raised me in church. I've been in church my whole life. But I think for me, the restoration process came through being genuine in my relationship with God. So I grew up in church. Been going to church my whole life. I was raised in kids' church, where all we would do was we had our worship time. They would play a video on the screens, and we would all sing along. It was like karaoke. And then we would hear a short 5-minute message from our kids' pastor and play games and go home. Then I go to my new church, and it's the same thing. Kids' church, we play games, we hear karaoke worship, we hear a 5-minute message, we go home. Then I get to youth, and it started off the same until we got a new leadership position, or a new leadership. We got a new youth pastor, guys. That's when COVID hit, and we were all in our homes. We were all, I guess, by ourselves. And I remember so clearly, we were at the dinner table one night watching youth service, because there were still some people still at church, and they were declaring things over their generations, things like, this is going to be the generation of faith. This is going to be the generation of joy, the generation of love. All these things. All these hopeful things. And I just feel the presence of God coming down. And we're at the dinner table, like nothing special, nothing huge, nothing big. And the Holy Spirit just met me right there. And it was the most incredible thing I'd ever experienced. And I go straight from the dinner table, and I was supposed to do the dishes. I kind of felt a little bad for my little brother, but not really. And I go to my room, and I'm laying on the floor, just experiencing the presence of God so clearly, so tangible, so present. And it was amazing. And so that was like the first time I'd ever really experienced God in a true way. And so after that, after COVID, we continued to go to church. Things got better. Our new youth pastor, he was a true leader. He knew how to show us the presence of God, how to have a relationship with him. But still, sometimes I would fall short. And it became more like a routine to me again. And so my sophomore year, it was a Wednesday. I was going to my church's public school, and I was in baseball. I don't look like a baseball player. I'm not good at baseball, to be clear. But so I was playing right field, right? Coach popped up a fly ball. I was supposed to catch it. I go up to catch it, and it hits me in the collarbone, straight in the collarbone. You could hear the crack. Like, right field could hear the crack. It was really bad. And so I have my arm hanging down like this. And we had Wednesday night service that night. It was so bad. And like, I couldn't move it. This was like the highest I think I could raise it. This was like a special night. We had a couple different churches coming. They were visiting. We had a guest speaker. He was actually like, I guess our age right about now. He was from Kansas. And so he came down, preached a message. I don't even remember what it was about. I can't lie. But it was like, all of a sudden, the presence of God was like so tangible again. Like, of course, he's always with us, but like it became so clear. And so he calls everybody down to the front. We all go down. We're all worshiping. We're all on our knees praying. And again, the presence of God was just so tangible. And so I wasn't even thinking about my collarbone. My focus was on God, right? And so I get up and I go talk to my friends afterwards because like this great thing just happened. And my collarbone, it was completely healed, completely restored. Like I could raise it all the way. It's like all of this stuff. And it's like, look at what God can do. And so anytime I forget about what God can do, if I ever like doubt, like, oh, like, what if God doesn't show up here? Like he shows up. He can do and he has done like so many times. I have another friend. His name is Money, or that's what we call him. His last name is Money, but that's what we call him. And he was a drug addict before he came to church. It was really bad. And I look at him, and over the past 2 years, he graduated 2 weeks ago now, and completely healed, completely restored. Like you would have never guessed that he had ever been a part of that. And it's like, I go back and I'm like, if I ever doubt, if I ever forget what God can do, there's so many places in my life that I can see God is faithful, God is true, God knows what he's doing, and he is fully able. And yeah. And so I'm gonna call up Sarah.
Hi, everyone. I was going to make a joke and be like 21 years ago, but then I decided not to because I won't bore y'all for the first 10 years. But so I was born in the hospital. Surprising, I know. It's not often you hear that story. So I grew up in a church. I was serving. I watched my mom serve. She was always in the kitchen, like cooking for whatever luncheon we were going to have that day. And then my dad was always in the sound booth, or he was our IT guy. Like he would always do the technical stuff. I don't think he ever really went to a church service because it was always like, hey, Brent, can you come over here? And he was like, yeah, another lighting's out. So it was just, I watched them serve my whole life and do their things. And so I would serve with them constantly. I was at the church. I was basically the pastor's kid because I was just always at the church helping, doing stuff. And I remember our pastor's kid was complaining about how he was always at the church. And I was like, I don't see you. You're not there. I'm there. No, but I loved it. It was great. I even got to crawl in the roofing of in the roofing, not on top, in the roofing. Because I was the only one that could pull a wire through or something. And I will hold that to it. I will look up and be like, guys, I did that. That's up there. So it was a lot of fun. And I had the time of my life doing it. And I remember I had someone one time tell me, they go, hey, you don't have to serve that much. And I was like, you're right. I don't have to. I want to. And so I just loved it so much. And at 10 years old, I went up to my dad and I was like, Dad, I want to be a missionary. And he goes, no, you don't. And I said, okay. And I was like, no, I want to be a pastor or something. I want to do something. And he was like, no, you see, you have to go to college for being a pastor, and they don't get paid that much. And I was like, okay. So anyways, thank you for your ministry. And so I was like, okay, I guess I won't be a pastor. And then I was at a kids camp church thing, and we're there, and I see a junior counselor, which is like they're training to be a counselor. And they were not my counselor, this was someone else's counselor, but I was a little kid, and I was like, I could do better than that. I don't remember the reason why. I don't know what they were doing. I think it was a little bit of my pride, but I was like, I could do that. And so I went up to my counselor and I was like, how old do I have to be a junior counselor? And they were like 16. And I was like, 4 years, I got this. So I was telling everyone, like, if you knew me, you knew about it. Like, I didn't hold back. They were like, what are you gonna do in 5 years? And I was like, in 4 years, I'll be a junior counselor. And I held to it. I got told a few times by people, they were like, we don't, that's your bratty teenage years. We don't know if you'll even be a Christian at that point. Or like, well, you don't know, you might be rebelling. And I was like, cool, my kind of rebelling is jaywalking. I was known as the Christian kid. Like, I got offered bad things. I got offered like drugs and stuff because I went to a public school. So they would offer me stuff, and I would have like friends be like, no, she's Christian. We don't do that. And like, it was so funny. I was like, I got told that in high school I'd be peer pressured. I feel like this is the opposite. Like, I'm being protected at this point, but it was great and I loved it. And I got off on a track. Hold on, I don't remember where I was. Oh, but so whenever I turned 16, I finally got to be a junior counselor, and I'm hanging out with these kids, and everyone was like, oh, hey, this kid is awful. Like, they were gonna run off, they're really loud, they're just a terrible kid, like, just be careful of them. And I was like, okay. So I get there, and I'm really excited, and these little kids, and I'm watching them, and I'm like, oh, she's not that bad, she's great. And then I realized she's me. And I was like, oh no, did people get warned about me when I was a kid? Oh, it was so bad. So then at 16, junior counselor. 18, I was an actual counselor because they trusted me. And then I did like youth camps and stuff like that, but I was in ministry my whole life. And I thought I was the best Christian. I didn't think I was the best. I just thought it was really good because I didn't cuss, I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs, I did nothing. Like if there was everything bad I've ever done, as I said before, a lot of it would be jaywalking, probably lying, a lot of gossiping. So I thought I was great. And I get to a point where I apply to Nelson University, and that's a whole thing. Because my dad, as I said before, was like, no, you're not being a pastor. That is not going to pay well. And he one day comes up to me because I told God was like, hey, I want you to be a youth pastor. And I said, try to convince my dad. And I said, God, if you make a door open, I'll walk through it, but I'm not going to open any doors. So my dad comes up to me and goes, hey, do you want to go to Nelson? I'm like, no, it's too much money. I don't want you to do that. And he's like, no, that wasn't the question. The question is, do you want to go to Nelson? And I was like, all right, you got me. I want to go. So I end up going and like doing the whole application process in less than an hour, which it was like a whole, like you had to write an essay and you had to go find these different files and everything. College applications are. And so I did it all within an hour. I'm like going through it. I get a call from the administration and they're like, hey, so all you have to do to complete your application is nothing. You're good. And I was like, cool. Anyways, I didn't know what else to say. I was like, cool. Is this the end of the call? And so then I finally go, and I'm like, once again, as I said, I think I'm the best Christian. And I get to a class, and they asked a question, and I don't remember what the question was, but I remember being like, all these people are smarter than me. Like, not a single one. Like, these are all God's people, and I am God's someone. I'm God's acquaintance. I just realized how far away I was from God without realizing it. Because I was like, oh, every testimony I'd ever heard, or any youth sermon I'd ever heard, or anything ever was like, don't do drugs. And I was like, got it, didn't do it, we're good. And so I thought I was great. I was like, I'm killing it. I wasn't. Actually, I was trash talking almost every single person I knew. I had friends of mine who stuck around for no reason. Like they knew I was trash talking them. They knew I was being a little brat to them. They knew I was saying things behind their back, and I was definitely making people's reputation go down. And I didn't realize it until I got to Nelson and I saw how great people were and how sweet people were and how everyone is always open to second chances, third chances, fourth chances, whatever. And I was like, wow, I am a loser. So I did everything I could to be better, but one of the things was I didn't believe God listened to my prayers. I believed he listened to everyone's prayer but mine. I have extreme anxiety, so I just was like, everyone hates me, including God. And so I was like, okay, God doesn't listen to my prayers, but I'll let everyone else pray. I'll let everyone else pray. I'll let everyone else do what they want. So I consider myself a bad prayer because when I talk, sometimes I stutter over my words, or I don't know exactly what to say, or I don't use big words when I pray. And so I always just thought I was doing it wrong. And that's why God wasn't listening. I don't know where I got that too, because everyone ever told me that God listens to prayer. I just think I made it up. But I get to Nelson and I'm finally able, and I feel like myself again. And I feel like I'm close with God and I feel like I know God, but prayer is the thing that I cannot get past. And I don't know why prayer specifically. I think I was just afraid of what if I'm wrong? What if I start praying to God about something out loud in front of people and then it doesn't work? I'm like, hey, God, heal this person, and he doesn't heal it. Then I look like the dumb one, right? And now I know that's not true. And anyone that believes that, that's not true. But I was considered that. And I remember there's this moment where we have this big event at Nelson, and it was so cool. And they're like, pray for the person next to you. So I'm like, okay. So I start praying, and I don't know this guy. I have no idea who this guy is. But I start praying for him, and then I just start praying for his anxiety and all this stuff. And I start really, and I was like, I don't know if you have anxiety. I hope you do. And now I hope you don't. I hope it went away. But I'm like, you hear me praying for your anxiety. So if you don't have it, this is really awkward. So I start praying for it. And then I'm like, cool. And then I didn't know what to do. I was like, I've never prayed for someone out loud and maybe got it wrong. So I kind of just slowly walked away from him. And after the event, he comes up to me and he's like, hey, thank you. I was having a bad panic attack, but I was trying to hide it. And whenever you touched me, my anxiety went away. And I was like, oh. And then I realized the amount of times I probably prayed for someone and they just never told me that it went away. He did not have to come up to me and tell me that his anxiety went away. And I kind of had that eye-opening of, okay, maybe I can do this. Maybe praying isn't as difficult as I make it seem. And I kind of reread Matthew and reread tons of different, reread the books of the Bible, really. And I was like, okay, where exactly does it say about prayer? What does it say about this? And I kind of had a deep dive on prayer. And I got asked to do, we have SMA, which is the thing that bringing us on this mission trip, but it also has other branches. It has prayer and it has community outreach. My best friend at Nelson was the director of prayer. And so she was in charge of everything. And she's like, do you want to be my event coordinator? And I'm like, cool. Only thing is, I do not want to pray out loud. And she's like, fine, you don't have to pray out loud. And I go, okay, thank you. So we're doing events and stuff, and she runs up to me and she's like, Sarah, I'm so sorry. I need you to go pray for everyone with a mic. And I'm like, no, you told me I didn't have to. This is the second event. This was not a year down the line. This was the second event. I was like, okay, funny how God works. So I get the mic and I'm like, hey, God. And I do this prayer and I stumble over my words, and it was fine because God heard me no matter what, and it was amazing. But but then now, to end my testimony, now I applied and I got asked to be the next director of prayer. So now I'm going to be continuously praying out loud. And it's even better because people know you're the director of prayer. So they go, can we get anyone to pray? You're the director of prayer. And you're like, yeah, I'll pray. So overall, over that entire testimony, I want you to know that God has your back. And you might think he doesn't, or you might think he's walked away from you. But all you have to do is turn around because he's probably right there. Alex.
Man, that was a good testimony. Hopefully mine could be as good, but everybody's different. Everybody has a different testimony. So I had one thing, but I just feel like I need to start off with this. Like, man, I'm blessed to be here. I am blessed to be where I'm standing. I'm blessed that I'm on this trip. I'm blessed that I'm serving with y'all. I'm honestly so happy that I'm here with y'all. Like, I experienced a culture that I didn't think I would experience. Because my whole family, like, they are so like stay at home. Like, oh, we don't want to travel. We don't want to do anything. We just want to stay home. We just want to be to ourselves. And that's kind of how I've always been. It's like, I've always been to myself. I've always been like where, like when I get like at school, I'll be like, I was in choirs and I was part of like the popular kids, but I was the popular kid that nobody knew. So like I would hang out with them. They know that they're like, oh yeah, you hang out with them. I was like, oh yeah. And they were like, oh yeah, you must be like doing all this stuff. I was like, no, I don't. Because I've always knew that God was real. And I always kept that to me because I grew up in a Christian household. I always grew up knowing that God is real, God is love, God is all of this. But they knew this, but they never saw it for me. I will always like to myself, like keep it to myself. Like I remember one moment, one of my friends was like saying all this bad stuff about Christians, all this bad stuff about all this stuff. And inside me, I was like, you know I'm a Christian. You know that I'm not like that. But at that moment, I didn't even like stand up for God. I didn't even stand up for like people that were Christians. It legit hurt me. I was like, what am I doing? And so I would continue being like that. I would be to myself. I would be like, yes, I believe in God, but I want to keep it to myself. I believe in God, but I just don't want to tell anyone. And it came to a point where it was like, where it kind of messed with my head, where I started getting more like anxious. I didn't even know what it was at the time. I was just like getting more anxious. I was getting more sad, and I was like, and the thing is, know me, and I'm like, this is not me. Like I love to be joyful. I love to like have fun, and I love to like listen to people. So when that happened, I was like, what's happening with me? And I didn't even know, I didn't even know it. It was just that I was going through a like spiritual decline. I wasn't reading, I wasn't praying. I was just doing stuff for me. And at church, I'll be like super involved. Like I think it was my 8th grade year. I started helping out with kids. I started helping out with like setting up stuff, started tearing down. I was that kid that you would see go like, oh yeah, hey, go do something. I'll be like, okay, cool. And I was like, what? And I'll be doing that stuff and I'll be like, okay, so what is happening? But deeply inside of me, I'm like, what's happening? And then I realized that more and more and more, I realized that I was being a lukewarm Christian. If you don't know what that is, it's just basically you do believe in God, you do believe you do believe that he's real, but you really don't like share it, but you really just keep it to yourself. It's one of those things that I really have been struggling with, and I'm not saying I'm still struggling with, but I'm getting better at sharing my faith and sharing everything that I'm doing. But the thing that kind of made me realize it, I was at a youth camp, and at that youth camp, I was like, God, I know you have something for me. I know you have something good for me, but I just don't know what it is. And at that moment, I still remember it was the second day of camp. It was this pastor named Chris Estrada, and he was preaching something about God has. He was like, oh, God has something for everyone. And I was just in the back. I was like, yeah, but it's probably not for me. I was like, oh, it's probably for somebody at my youth group. Oh, it's probably somebody like for a different church, but it's probably not for me, because it was about ministry. It was like, oh, this could be people today are going to be feel called to ministry. They're going to be going out and saving people. And I'm like, what? That's not me. Because I always thought of myself as a bad reader. I always thought of myself as a bad writer. and I never saw myself in like a good light in that sense. So once he was doing that, I was like, and then it came to the prayer time. I was like, Lord, just speak to me. That's all I told him. I was like, Lord, speak, because I want to hear, because I really haven't heard his voice. I knew he spoke to people, but I never really heard his voice at that time. And then when he did, I just legit heard, open your eyes. And I opened my eyes, and then I legit just see, it's so weird. I just see a blue hand just like touching people's heads. And that's all I saw. And I was like, what is this? And when that happened, I was like, what does this mean, God? Like, what are you trying to tell me? And then I just heard a subtle, like, it felt like more like a nudge, but it felt like he was saying, I'm gonna use you to expand my kingdom. And I was like, what? But I'm not good writer, but I'm not good reader. At that point, I was like, coming up with excuses, like, I don't feel called. Oh, I don't do this. I can't do this. But at that moment, I just felt like the thing is like, it's a yes or no. I came to that point where it was like, either yes, I can still become, yes, I can fully give my life to you. I can fully do everything for you, not be outspoken for you, like defend you. Or I can go back to my old ways where I was a lukewarm Christian. And I was like, and at that moment, I was like, God, I believe in you, I trust you, and I just say yes. At that moment, I say yes for him, for his calling in my life. I say yes to him to continue to move in my life, even today and forever on, and like continue to expand my testimony for everyone to hear, for everyone to understand. And I really, so kind of going with this, like, I love to worship. I love listening to worship. Like, I've been saying this a lot. It's like, I love hearing our worship. It's such a great time of worship, like worshiping with y'all. I have to say that. But there was this one song that came out and really made me realize about like what I was doing. And it's called Monday Morning Faith, if you heard about it. But there's one verse that really got to me. It was, hell's not scared of a Sunday's faith if it only leads to empty praise. So what I got out of that was, you can praise, you could be super spiritual, you could be doing stuff, but if you're not doing it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then it leads to nothing. You have to be consistent. It's not inconsistency, it's consistency. And everything that you have to do it with the fullness of your heart and nothing else. And yeah, and I got to a point where I applied to Nelson. I'm at Nelson, and I'm trying my best. I'm doing well. And yeah, and thank you guys for all this. And now we have one more person, which is Kelly.
Hey y'all, or aloha. So if y'all don't know me, my name is Kelly. People think I grew up in church, but we were more of the every Easter, every Christmas kind of family, which I mean, I guess is still technically growing up in church. But me and my family, went to church kind of consistently until I was about 7. When I hit 7 years old, I got baptized and I was saved. But after that, some kind of decline happened. My dad got injured at work to where he couldn't really work there anymore. There was this whole thing, which led to financial problems in my family, which led to even more arguments. So mind you, I'm 7, 8 years old. I don't know much about what's going on because they're the adults. They don't share everything with me. But I knew we no longer really went to church. And with that being said, I tried my best to stay in a relationship with God. And I'm not sure why or how I knew to do this, but I knew that he needed to be in my life and I needed to be in his. I say in his, but so. But anyways, so through the next couple years, I started a prayer wall, which is where you write your prayers down on a piece of paper and you stick it on your wall. And I kept it kind of secretive because I used it as my, what's it called? Like a war room. That's what it's called, where you fight your greatest battles through prayer. So eventually, COVID came around, and I started a Zoom Bible study with a close group of my friends. And there is when I kind of was like, hey, I want to start going to church again. Like, this community, this is nice. Like, I like this. Because the years before that, we maybe went to church Easter, sometimes Christmas, not always. So I was like, I miss this. Like, I need people who can pour into me and that I can pour into as well. So me and my mom started going back to church, and we had what we called Sunday school. I'm not sure. Do y'all have that? Yeah. So that's one of my favorite things, because you just talk about the Bible, you talk about what God's doing in your life, and it's more of just someone standing up here and talking to you. It's more of a community. So there I grew some friends, and I went to youth camp for the first time. And there I was called to ministry. Now, when I say that, I don't mean, oh yeah, I was called to be a pastor. Oh yeah, I was called to go across the world. I was called to be a minister to my family and those around me. I was not called to stand up and talk in front of a bunch of people, which I mean, I'm doing right now, but that's not the point. But so that's where it kind of started. And I knew that as a Christian, no matter what your calling is, whether it's the work field, whether it's the mission field, whether it's the ministry field here, you're called to be a disciple, meaning that you're called to share your faith with other people. And that's what I wanted to do. And so through high school, my family and I slowly got back into church, and I got into sports. So if y'all know me, y'all know that I love sports. And one of my main things was cross country, and that's important for later on. But I love to run. So high school went through. I wasn't necessarily popular, but everyone knew me, if that makes sense. Like, I was friends with everybody. I didn't really have a friend group. But my senior year came up, and there was this award called Athlete of the Year. And my junior year was when I found out about it, and I was like, I want that. Like, I'm going to get that, and no one can stop me. So I worked as hard as possible through the summer, through my winter breaks, running and training, and I ended up getting the award. But I realized that after I got that award, all it was a piece of paper. So when we put our success in the world's eyes, and when we put our success in these awards that are just going to sit on a shelf for the rest of our lives, what are we really getting out of it? Are we saying, oh yeah, look what I did, but I probably can't run like that anymore? So one thing that I think is very important is putting our success in God's eyes. So through the things that we do, we should be sharing our faith. We should be making relationships with people and being a true disciple. And that's success in God's eyes, is something that lasts an eternity, not something that sits on the shelf for a couple years. Well, anyways, so I got kind of sidetracked. So we get to my senior year, and I was convinced, I'm like, I'm going to be a pediatric dental hygienist. I'm going to make some money, and I'm going to be able to provide for a family. And I was fully registered to that college, fully ready to go there. And then I went to a called camp with my church. And there, I'm not going to lie, I was not having the best time in the world. I was like, God, what the heck is this? Like, why am I here? It was for kids who felt called to ministry, which I did, but I wasn't sure how or why. And so I'm there the whole time. I'm just kind of confused. I'm praying over these people because I'm like, okay, God, you want me to pray over these people, but why am I here? So I see that Nelson now, but Sagu had a booth set up, and I walk over there. Well, the school that I was going to go to only had a softball program, which I was going to go to the softball program, but they didn't have running, and running was where my heart was. It was my stress reliever. It's where I found God. So I was like, I really want to run. So I walk over there. I'm like, that looks interesting, but, and then the guy walks up. He's like, hi, how are you? I'm like, fine, how are you? And he tells me that they have a cross-country team. I was like, well, that's interesting. And so I kind of say a little prayer in my head. I'm like, okay, God, like, what are you trying to do? And I end up applying, like, in the, what's it called? Recruit Me form. Yeah. So I fill out a Recruit Me form. I'm like, okay, if you want me to go here, they'll answer me. They'll ask me to come here. And I was like, that's not going to happen. My times aren't good enough. So, sorry, there's a bug. So I get back home, and it wasn't until I got back home that I was like, wait, I kind of actually like that. Like, I think that's where I need to be. And then the next Monday, I got a text from Coach and was like, hey, can I give you a call? And I was like, okay. So that's kind of how I got to Nelson. But one thing that I do want to share is it's not about our plans for ourselves, because my plan for myself was I was going to go to college, get a good job. And mind you, I was going to go to a community college, which was a lot cheaper than where we go now. Going to be in trade, going to have a job right out of college. I was like, okay, I'm set. I'm going to make good money. I'm going to be able to provide for my future family, God willing. But then God had different plans. I have no idea where I'm going right now. But the truth is, it's not about knowing where you're going. It's about taking the steps to get there. So one thing that I kind of started this past year in college, I'm in a relationship and we've been long distance. And Bryce is his name. He was going through something difficult, but I couldn't be there for him. So we would send letters to each other. But my thing was, I was like, okay, I got to find something I can give him, but something that's not heavy enough that I have to pay for a package for it. So I found a paper clip. And this little insignificant thing means so much to me. And that's because of what I attached to it. And for me, one thing I live by, I told y'all, was do everything you do in love. Whether it be sweeping the floors, whether it be doing something that no one's watching you do it in love because you're doing it for God. And one thing that I attach to this is Isaiah 40:31. For those who put their hope in the Lord, they will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will walk and not grow weary. They will run and not grow faint. And that's something that sticks with me. During the times where I have no idea where I'm going, where I'm just taking that leap of faith, that step of faith, I have this paper clip. And I feel like so often God puts these paper clips in our life and we walk right by them. We're like, oh, it's just a paper clip. What could it possibly mean? So I guess, yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say, but that's kind of where I'm coming from. And just mainly remaining faithful to God, even though you may not be surrounded by people who aren't. And I would say keep your circle close. So one thing, I'm going to go on another tangent. I'm sorry. I know we're probably running late on time. But one thing that I kind of live by, there's like 3 circles. Do you have a pen? I'm going to write it because it's a little hard to explain. So, there's 3 circles, right? And in your inner circle is your closest friends. Those are the people that you allow to influence you and that they allow to influence them. Those are the people that you can accept what they're saying into your heart, and they're not going to tear you apart. And Jesus had 3, I believe. Who were the 3 in the garden with him? James? Yeah, so Peter, James, and John were his 3. He allowed them in the garden with him right before his toughest time. He allowed them to see him in his weakest moments, and he allowed their influence into him. And then you go to your second circle. Those are the people, your acquaintances, but your friends. You allow them in your lives. You're friends with them. You talk with them, but you don't always allow their influence to influence you. You don't let their, I don't know how to word that. You get what I'm saying? Okay. Anyways, so, and then the third circle. Oh, for Jesus, the second circle would be his disciples. He taught them, and they were friends. They were able to converse among each other, but he didn't always let the other 9 see his weakest moments. And then the third one. So Jesus was with Peter, James, and John. He was with the disciples. Who else did he talk to? the sinners. You're not going to be able to reach anyone if you don't talk to anyone that's messed up before. Because we've all messed up, let's face it. But the thing is, we can't allow them to have an impact here. We have to know what our beliefs are, where we're centered, in order to reach them. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to leave y'all with, because I'm kind of a little lost up here. But yeah, thank you.
I'm so proud of y'all. They make me happy. So I am very thankful that y'all allowed me and my team to come and share our testimonies so you get to know us a little bit better. And yeah, that's all we really have for today.
That was awesome. I really, really enjoyed that. That is so good. We so encourage you to continue speaking wherever you go. That was a lot of fun.
Oh,
Very good.
I'm excited for tonight to get to know them a little bit more, because we've been so fruitful but very busy. And it goes on and on, but I'm looking forward to
So
it
yeah, tonight and tomorrow they have our complete attention.
Our attention.
I'm putting everything on the side just for that. But yeah, that was really good. So I'm just curious. So you didn't get to choose your mission of where you're gonna go. Did you guys get to choose? You did get to choose. Okay.
And are you going back?
Oh, you
to Teen
interviewed
Challenge?
them.
Is that what you're saying? You're gonna? Wow, that is awesome.
That's amazing.
That is so awesome.
That is amazing.
That is
That was really great. You know, sometimes people think that they don't have a powerful testimony. Like, you know, when they hear this, like, my brother said that he used to hear testimonies about somebody doing drugs or alcohol or murdering somebody. And he grew up in the church and he was this good Christian boy. So he said, he's like, I have to get a testimony. And so he went and messed up his life just to go get a testimony. And I was like, don't do that, guys. Don't do that. That's just like, just even to be able to stand firm in the faith and to, like, it's a true testimony that that you were able to walk through a very dark world and still, you know, continue to have a love for Jesus. It's with so many distractions in this world, it's so hard. And I was one who did not do drugs or any of that. And he talks about things and I'm like, what is that? You know, for the longest time, I thought ice was like powder. So when somebody held, so I thought it was always white powder. I don't know, like, and so when somebody, like, we were holding up bath salts for the hotels and they're like, we can't give that out. That looks just like a baggie. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like people are going to think that's ice. And I'm like, but that doesn't look anything like ice, right? You know, how naive, right? So I don't know any of that stuff, but I held on to Jesus. And when you guys hear the rest of the story, that as much as I love Jesus, this world is not always kind. And so you definitely don't need to rush it. Everyone will go through trials at times in their life. And what was that?
When you said bars, did you mean bars or did you mean Xanax? See,
Xanax.
I leaned over and I said that's Xanax. And she's like,
Yeah, I was like, I have no idea what that is, but it is.
that's what I was told anyway.
Yeah. That's what you're told.
Oh my gosh, so awesome.
Well, I'm learning. I'm in a substance abuse class now, but anyway, I'm just so proud of all of you that just to come up here and share what God has done in your life. And there's so much more that God has in store. So never stop seeking, never stop applying the things. And I just love even hearing just how, even when you weren't going to church, you know, I thought for sure when you got up here, you would have said, yeah, I've been in church. Of all of you, I thought you were going to say, yes, I've been in church my whole life. And then to hear that you guys only went on Christmas and Easter, I was like, wow. And that you still knew that you need to hold on to God, even though it's only up till 7. I was like, that's pretty incredible. But that's the God I know, that he walks with us. And so very proud of all of you. And I'm looking forward to tonight. But,
Amen.
okay.
No, I was just going to say, as we are we ready to close? Are we closing? Of course, I'm going to have to ask Sarah to come up and pray for all of us. Because she's the director of prayer, so you know that's coming. But Sarah, you're the director of prayer.
You're the director.
Come on up and we'll instruct you. Nani pray for our closing before our offering and everything.
Wait, hold on real quick. Okay, so tonight, guys, we are having fun and fellowship, and I really stress the importance of coming out and having fun, because it's this is just something I've learned. If you just come to church and then you go home, it's like you're really not building those relationships. And building relationships, especially for men, I find that when they work together, they grow together. But I do find that when we laugh together, we bond. And it is so important that we build those relationships together, because God didn't create us just to come to church. He didn't. That's not what the intention was. The early church, they met in houses. They broke bread together. That means they ate together. They laughed together. They worked together. They were a family. And so it's not about just coming and hearing a sermon, but even in that time of fellowship and fun, we are building each other up. And it is so important that we put that into practice, that we really, really do that. So please come out tonight. It's, again, 5 o'clock is pot blessing. 6 o'clock, we're going to have it's going to begin 5 o'clock, because we want to give an hour to just be able to eat and hang out a little bit, and then 6 o'clock, and then is where we start the fun. And then I don't know what's going to happen, but I know the games that Melody comes up with are really fun. She's always very creative. And then Wednesday, again, where we're teaching on the breaking generational curses, we did learn. And if you really want to learn what gives demonic the right to mess with you, then you want to come to the Wednesday night Bible studies, because we talked about the 4 spiritual laws, to if they're broken, to why the doors are open for the demonic to mess with you. And we want to make sure that everybody in this church knows how to close every door, because we don't want to see you guys getting, like tossed around or tossed to and fro. We should be able to be solid and unwavering. But there are some things that many Christians just don't know. So if you did not come this last Wednesday, we do encourage you, go on the Waianae Assembly of God YouTube page, watch last week Wednesday's sermon. We're doing a 4-part series, so there's a lot to learn, but I try to break it down in the most simplest of terms. And what I like about Bible studies is you guys get to talk. So if you have a question or if you have input, you get to talk. We're going to learn this together. And I think I grew most in my spiritual walk at Wednesday night Bible studies because of that opportunity to be able to ask those questions and say, it's like, yeah, that's what everybody says, but, and then they get to help us to grow, those who know more. So I just want to say, please come out to those Wednesday Bible studies, come out tonight to have fun and continue to pray for us. And Sarah, we are so privileged to have you pray. And as she prays us out, remember there's a women's meeting after service, but we also want to take the time, if you have a special need that you want prayer for, we have a team here that is going to pray for you. So please come up if you need prayer after service.
All right, everyone, bow your heads, close your eyes. All right, thank you, Jesus, for everything you've done, for blessing this church and blessing these families, Lord. I thank you for your glory, and you're worthy for everything that's happened here, Lord. The move of your spirit that's been in this place this whole time, Lord, I thank you for it. I pray that as we go about today, that these testimonies or these things that maybe people have picked up on that relate to their lives, Lord, that they continue to remember it through their days, and they just hold on to that, Lord, and that it affects them, Lord, and that they are able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that they're able to see maybe of what they didn't see before, that prayer works, or that maybe that whenever maybe they didn't see God before, but they see him now, or maybe they have this awful backstory that they think that they don't deserve God's love, but they do, Lord. And I pray that they're able to see it, and because of these testimonies, they're able to move on with their lives and go and do glory for you. I just thank you for everything you've done, everything you're going to do today and forever. In your name we pray, amen.
Before we go, hold on.
Yeah, I am so sorry. I did not even, I don't know, I'm looking out and I didn't even see him. Would you come up, Elts? We're going to say happy birthday. Today is his birthday.
It's that time of year again.
All right. Can I get all of his kiddos to come around? Let's just try to bring all of his children up.
There they go.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if everybody saw this, but my son decided to get creative with his hair, and it didn't work out so well. So, anyway.